This is the movie that's kind of making waves everywhere right now. It's got a tepid...
Waves is an understatement.
Waves is an understatement. Did you see Chris Terrio came out talking about his experience working on the movie and like how he's basically pissed off about everything that Warner Brothers did with it?
Chris Terrio.
He's a writer of... he did Batman v Superman. And,
no, I did not hear anything about that.
It's a pretty good article.
Something to look up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you did not guess it from there, we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Justice is great!
Yes, specifically the Justice is great.
We have seen the colored version. We watched that the first time, but we were like, hey, like for a second rewatch, screw it, let's do the gray version. Why not?
And I don't think I'll ever watch the color version again.
Yeah, no,
I really, but we'll talk about that later. And my opening statement, Eric. This is a time of great pride swallowing.
Great.
Yes, great pride swallowing. For those who don't know the story, and I guess you are either above the age of 25 or living under a rock.
Yeah.
Okay, I think 25 is a good cutoff.
No, I think that's right. Yeah,
that's
fair.
Fine. To sum up, Zack Snyder, who's helmed a lot of these DCEU movies, originally stepped away from this project following the death of his daughter Autumn. Warner Brothers quickly replaced him with Joss Whedon, another prolific sci-fi director. He did the first two Avengers movies, but he was also behind TV shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Firefly, probably most famously. And Joss Whedon came in and he completed the film that was released in 2017. Can you believe it was 2017?
Yeah.
Now, that's casually 4 years ago. Oh my gosh. And here's where things get nuts, right? Because the film, when it came out, was rejected completely and entirely. You know, there were complaints of it feeling incomplete, incoherent, boring. I actually thought the movie was okay. Eric, I don't think you did.
No, that movie was a Frankenstein monster.
But what was so weird is that it wasn't just the fans saying this. You know, different cast members were starting to say the same thing, which is not something that you usually get on a big Hollywood movie. It's not something that you usually see. And this launched a social media campaign that plagued Warner Brothers for years. You know, I follow Warner Brothers on Instagram and Twitter and, you know, Facebook and all that. I swear, every single post, if there was 25 comments on something, at least 23 of them were hashtag release the Snyder Cut. And, you know, if finally they made the announcement in conjunction with their announcement of HBO Max that Zack Snyder would be returning and completing his version of the movie that he had originally intended to make. You know, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before in Hollywood, and Warner Brothers essentially pressed the undo button on a multi-million-dollar film, right? And what's even crazier is that it worked, Eric. It worked. Zack Snyder's Justice League is better. Justice is good, specifically. Yeah. Well, they're both better.
Yeah, they're both better.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, both versions, is better than Joss Whedon's in damn near every single way.
Every capacity.
And that's not surprising, not only because this film is a pioneer, but because it's essentially the same story, you know, just really, really extended. So the film takes place shortly after the events of Batman vs. Superman. Superman is dead, and as the world is mourning his loss, another galactic threat pops up in the form of Steppenwolf, a galactic conqueror who hopes to get back in the good graces of Darkseid, who comic book fans know is bad news, to say the least. Very bad news. And Steppenwolf has come to Earth in search of 3 mother boxes. This is where we're getting into fictoscience, so bear with me. And these mother boxes are powerful objects. They're beyond matter, and they can wipe out entire species in seconds. The great clans of Earth apparently came together thousands of years ago to fight Darkseid, and after defeating him, hid the boxes within their tribes. We're talking the Atlanteans, the Amazons, Wonder Woman's people, and then humans who have the ingenuity to just dig a hole in the ground.
Dig a hole! Put it in the earth!
I love it. They show Atlanteans putting like this crazy like tsunami, is that the... Yeah, that's a water.
It comes out of this pit that's holding a kraken. And they're like, we're gonna put it on this big pillar in this in this tower, and this tsunami basically encapsulates it. And then the Amazons...
They have this temple, right? And then it cut to humans digging a hole in the ground.
They have this temple. They use the power of the sun to, like, lock it into this cage that really can only be opened probably by the mother box exploding. And then meanwhile, humans are like, all right, put it in a box and put it in a hole. I like to imagine that someone made a Denny's in that exact location, said, all right, we're going to dig up roots and we're going to put this Denny's here. And they're like, oh, box! But no, the Nazis found it.
Yeah,
anyway,
because of course they did.
Of course they did.
They found the they found the lost Ark of the Covenant, and they found
the mother box.
Right. So Steppenwolf has come to Earth. He's found these 3 boxes, but all has been well since the humans put the mother box in a hole, until the death of Superman, which awakens the box and signals Steppenwolf and brings him to Earth. Now, without Superman, Earth's mightiest defender, Batman has to assemble a team that can stand toe-to-toe against Steppenwolf before all the mother boxes are fused and Earth is completely snuffed. So, Eric, I know you didn't like the film, but were you one of the hashtaggers?
I never hashtagged. Because I was kind of in the mindset of, like, this will never happen. Like, yes, Zack Snyder and DC already had a very tepid relationship with the fact that, like, Man of Steel, I think, came out, like, there was some criticism against it, but for the most part, people were like, it's an okay movie. And then Batman v Superman came out, and people were like, this is boring as hell. What is this? How did you make a movie with Superman and Batman and Lex Luthor and, what's-his-face, Doomsday, boring? But
cast Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you screw it up. However, then the Ultimate Edition came out, which I still haven't seen, I'll admit. And now, after watching this version of Justice League, I'm like, maybe I should watch that version. People decided to say, like, oh, shoot, like, maybe if we didn't cut the movie down and just release this 3-hour movie, it would have turned out better. Certain things make sense. It feels complete, yada, yada, yada. But, of course, before that, they were already in production of Justice League. Zack Snyder made a 4-hour epic, and Warner Brothers said, no, we don't want that. So, like, when I watched the movie and hearing everything, like, Zack Snyder stepping away, which at that point, like, he didn't even say what exactly happened. And then hearing that Joss Whedon came on, I think all of us kind of had a collective, okay, Joss Whedon can handle this vibe. Because, we all, I think for the most part, enjoyed Avengers 1. Right. It's a fun movie. But that's the problem. It's a fun movie. Zack Snyder didn't intend to make a fun movie when he made Justice League. He was like, no, it's a dark, epic. Even Chris Terrio came out and was like, this was always our intention. And they just said, nah. So, when I saw the movie, no, I didn't like it. And I could tell, because it's very obvious that it's 2 different directors trying to make one movie and also cutting it down substantially. It did not work in any capacity. But, of course, I was like, this is what we got. We'll just move on from there. Hopefully the next one will be good if they do it. Which, the movie bombed, so...
That wasn't even the situation. They were talking about shutting down the entire DCEU.
Oh, true. Yeah, because the only movies that existed within the DCEU, they came out because they were just in production. But for the most part, they're like, we're going to reset this entire thing.
Yeah, I thought Birds of Prey was it. I thought it was done.
Yeah. And then, the gods said, all right, we need hope. And the hope came in the form of, all right, you win, nerds.
You mean Gods Among Us?
Gods Among Us. Yeah, no. Like I said, I wasn't a hashtagger, but I was at least hopeful. And when I heard the news about it, I was happy for Zack Snyder. I figured it would be a more complete and better movie, but I didn't expect it to be this good.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. I think the most obvious, or the first thing we gotta mention, it's 4 hours long.
Yes.
4 hours and 2 minutes. And I was talking to Eric, like, I don't know if I've seen a 4-hour movie before, at least in one sitting. We were talking about the Lord of the Rings movies, which I admit I've only seen one, and I have not seen any of, like, the director's cuts, obviously, that, like, are expanded and everything. But this film, being, like, my first 4-hour movie, Eric and I very proudly watched it in one sitting, all the way through, and had no problems.
Yeah, it went by... 4 hours went by. For me, it felt like 2. Like, it went by pretty fast, and I think for the most part that comes down to it's entertaining. Yes. At no point did I really feel bored. I was very engaged with the characters and their motivations and the storyline, and curious about where it was going to go and, like, what it meant for the rest of the series, the entire DCU, I mean. No, it's not a boring movie at all. It really captures you.
No, and the pacing is really solid. And the film is broken up into 7 chapters, right? I don't even know if there needs to be... I feel like the chapters are sometimes just kind of there just to be there. To give you a good place to pause, maybe. But I
think
really
without the chapter parts popping up, it probably would have been like 3 hours and some change, actually.
But, like, for real, though, like, it doesn't... specifically, there was one chapter transition that I was like, okay, this didn't need to be there. It was when J.K. Simmons, whenever he started off the next chapter, it's just like, you could have just cut to this.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll need to go back and watch each like chapter cut to see like, oh, was this really necessary? But look, we're nitpicking something that is so stupid.
Yeah.
Because like the pacing really works, and it has nothing to do with the fact that it's broken up into 7 chapters. It has to do with the fact that each of those chapters is like involves several vignettes that work on their own. You know, one of my favorite films of a couple years ago was Mission Impossible Fallout, which has actually become one of my favorite movies, period.
Easily one of the best action movies ever come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason for that is because it goes from one ginormous set piece to the next.
Yeah.
Now, this film doesn't have that exactly, but there are big climactic moments that happen throughout the film that are satisfying. And going back to these innuendos, I'm not going to use the word satisfying anymore. I might. I have no idea. Apparently, these things just come up.
They just come.
They just come. Oh my god!
Look, sometimes you're satisfied and you come. What are you gonna say?
Oh yeah, I guess we're explicit now. So who cares? Who cares? But no, I mean, like these vignettes all have very satisfying conclusions, and they're just awesome moments.
Yeah.
And they all feel like their own. I mean, I hate to say like they feel like comic books in their own because it's a comic book. But they do.
You feel like you're reading a graphic novel, or you're watching a graphic novel, and like the cool parts coming up, you're like, oh shoot, like it's pretty dope. And I think for me, like the biggest thing for me, well, not the biggest thing, but one of the biggest things is that like when I watched the original version of Justice League, when they all got together, like, you remember that moment when the Avengers finally got together and they're taking on Loki and everybody in town?
Yeah, and the circle shot.
Yeah, like, it just feels epic, right?
Yes.
At no point in the 2017 movie did I feel like this is, like, an epic union of all of the heroes that we've grown up watching and that we love coming together. It just felt like, all right, really schmucks, like, hanging out trying to stop the bad guy that, like, I don't even really care about that much. But, like, in this movie, especially by the ending when Superman finally comes in, and I feel like I could say that because like this movie's like 4 years old technically. When Superman comes back, it's like, oh my god, this rocks! Yes. Like they're working together, you're using their powers at the same time, and they're making combo moves. This is Injustice, Gods Among Us. This feels awesome.
Yes, absolutely, and that's like one of the. A big reason that feels so well is because the characterization in this movie is so much, it's expanded upon so much more. And like, they really do feel like a team, which is the coolest part. Like, they also have like compassion and empathy for one another.
Yeah.
You know, they're all, as we find out throughout the film, they all have apparently a lot of family issues.
Yeah, a lot of trauma.
You know, a lot of trauma. The Flash is dealing with stuff with his father. Aquaman has a whole weird fish parent human hybrid situation going on. Batman, everybody knows Batman's story.
Yeah. definitely some family trauma there.
Just a little bit, a smidge.
Diana can't go back to her people. Like, she's still technically a fish out of water in her scenario. And then poor Cyborg is just like,
oh my god.
Which, good lord. We'll get to him in a minute, but like everything, I'm so glad this came out simply before Ray Fisher. But all the trauma that he went through, and his is probably the most recent in terms of like what the characters are currently going through. Like his, I would argue it's probably been a year since he went through his accident, losing his family, like or his mother. You feel for everyone. You understand why they're damaged, and them coming together feels like a second family for them. It's really effective. It's really good.
Yeah, you know, they're super friends.
Yeah, they're super
friends. But I mean, you know, I loved all of the time that we spent with these characters, you know, and, you know, there are arguments to be made about what can be cut out, which is going to be like one of the main arguments or main critiques that everybody's going to have in a 4 hour
Did
movie.
it have to be 4 hours?
Right, but one sequence specifically, and I'm sure we'll talk about Cyborg more in depth, but the Flash, for instance, his first scene, that like 5-minute sequence has nothing to do with like the rest of the story, right? We're never brought back into it, but it feels like it could be its own movie. We have a huge Flash aesthetic there. We're getting the goofiness combined with the sense of heroism and the comedy, but we're also getting like maybe like a little bit of romantic interest that it feels great. And we're also getting like a little preview of his powers, and major shout out to the visualization of some of these powers, especially with Cyborg and Flash, because I know we saw like Flash's powers and Cyborg was kind of left on the shelf in 2017, but this scene, like his shoes, for instance,
like eviscerate. He touches the glass and like he's going so fast through it that it just shatters when he tries to break himself in order to like catch Iris when she's flying out of the car. He literally breaks the ground underneath his feet, which doesn't affect him at all because he's his body's used to the speed. It like that is such a good way to show like really how strong the Flash is. We never really like visualize him as a strong character, but when he's in his element, I mean he's in his element.
And not only does it show off his like physical strength, but we also get, and this is the case for a lot of the characters, the humor is knocked down and we really get to see how smart they are. Flash, for instance, I don't remember the suggestion that he made, but you yourself were saying how happy you were that like, look, they're showing Barry as smart instead of just a doofus. And even with, I like the role that Batman took. I like the role Batman had in the last one, to be honest.
It's pretty similar. That doesn't really change that much.
But I feel like you get an elevated sense of guilt in this film. Batman, like, what everybody always says about Batman, and you've also said this, is that there comes a point where they're all fighting gods that he kind of becomes useless.
I'm gonna be back here.
I'm gonna drive really fast. You guys, you do your thing, I'm gonna drive.
What's your superpower? I drive.
I'm rich.
Still a great line.
Yes, it's still great. It will always be a great line. Whether it's Tony Stark or it's Bruce Wayne, it's a great line. But Batman has not only a sense of guilt, but he also, I feel like, we get an added sense of responsibility in him because he feels culpable and responsible for Superman's death, and he maybe, I don't want to say overcompensates, but he needs to make sure he's feeling a lot of pressure here. And I think that really comes through. Ben Affleck plays the character in sort of this rugged way, and it kind of reminds me of like my favorite bits of like Clint Eastwood, snarls and growls, and he just seems worn down, So I was very happy with the Batman performance, and Batman is always my anchor. So
if you got a movie with Batman in it, it's like, okay, I'm at least gonna like check it out and see how it goes. And I think like that's kind of been, I think for every single one of these DCEU movies, like, you can't say that the acting has necessarily been bad. I think Henry Cavill is perfect as Superman, and I think Ben Affleck is easily one of the best Batmans we've ever had, and it sucks that they screwed that up. But, I mean, I'm excited for Robert Pattinson, but we'll see how that goes.
Excited for what?
Robert Pattinson.
Oh, yeah. I have nightmares of Robert Pattinson just punching my face repeatedly. I couldn't imagine that. But, I mean, we've been talking a lot of praises. We've been seeing a lot of praises here. There are problems. I find Zack Snyder to be a little bit of a tedious filmmaker in general. The first thing I'm going to bring up. There's this little chime. I'm going to call it a chime or a chant. I don't know what it is, but every single time Wonder Woman comes on the screen, Zack Snyder, for some reason, has to play this thing as if to tell you, hey, it's Wonder Woman.
Diana walks into the room as Diana. I was like, Jesus Christ, Zach.
Shut up.
Like, we need it for every scene.
4 hours. You hear it the entire 4 hours. It's crazy.
It is insane.
It is crazy. Like, and why? There's no purpose in that.
I don't know.
Is he trying to show, like, woman strong. Is that what he's doing?
I don't know if he was like, this chant is her new theme, and I'm like, can it not be? Her original theme was cool.
Her original theme is awesome, and they play that too. And that's another thing, you know, Wonder Woman is awesome in this movie. She is ferocious. That first scene that I guess must have been censored in the PG-13 version, right? Yeah. She kills those people. I think she just straight murders them. There's one guy that she punches, and his face just lands like splats on
we have such an issue with Batman killing people. Like, Wonder Woman's just like, yeah, you're all meat to me.
I am not one of you, so I have no problem killing you.
Yeah, I have no restraint.
No restraint at all. But, you know, there's also, I don't like the way she's used. There's a lot of tokenism with her character as well. You know, later in that scene, that first, I guess, museum scene where she saves all those kids. There's one girl, and obviously we're not the only ones making these observations because the memes have been on point. But there's one girl's like, can I be like you one day? And she's like, you can be anything you want to be, even though she's a god. Yeah,
except for me. You can't be me. Yeah. I'm literally, is your dad a god? No, you can't be me.
And it's just like, there are a couple instances like that where...
Well, like, do we have to do this with every Wonder Woman movie? Like, we didn't do it with the first one, but it happens in 1984 as well, in the opening scene. Like, why does it have to be a thing every time? We get it. She's an inspiration. But you don't have to be on the nose with it. Like, just kind of show some restraint, just a little bit.
You were feeling that. I feel like, I don't know if Warner Brothers was expecting the reception to Wonder Woman that they got, because the marketing for... Wonder Woman 84, which was awful, by the way. We didn't review that.
We didn't review it. Awful. Neither one of us like. I didn't hate it as much as Luke did, but I definitely didn't like it.
I could not stand it. I watched it on Christmas Eve, or not Christmas Eve. I watched it on Christmas, and I watched it with my mom. And like probably 40 minutes into it, I was like, "Mom, are you liking this?" She's like, "No."
We watched
the rest of it.
We watched it before we watched Soul, and definitely by like the end of Wonder Woman, we're like, hopefully Soul's better. And it
At least it was.
Yeah, it brought life back into us. Like, all of us.
Gave you soul.
It gave us a soul, yes.
Very good. But for some reason, like, after the success of Wonder Woman, it seemed like the marketing plan suddenly shifted to, like, exaggerate her position as, like, a strong female character. And, like, I'm all for strong female characters, don't get me wrong. But here's the thing, you can't make the character inspirational by her actions. Don't say it.
Yeah.
Don't say it, show it, right? And the first Wonder Woman really did it. And there are scenes in this that do show it, but, you know, I think when you make those obviously politically correct moments or whatever, those little token moments, it just kind of discredits her. It kind of gets rid of that authenticity and the naturalism of her coolness to me, and that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it just comes off as goofy. I get what they're doing, but, like, I don't know. Like, I don't need it. I don't, like, just have her be cool. Maybe, like, this girl's looking in on her and she just winks and then leaves. Like, that's fine. That's subtle. But, like, the whole, like, can I be you when I grow up, Mom? Can I go to your house and we can play video games? And you can make me a juice box? Just, I don't know. Too much for me.
Yeah.
Too much.
I agree. And, you know, like, other problems I have with this film, like, you know, there are enough holes in the plot to sink the Titanic.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
The CGI can be a little noticeable at times. Now, granted, I think in the gray version, it's hidden pretty well. But I think in the colored version, there are times where you can see, like maybe Cyborg's head looks like it's floating a bit, or a clearly CGI'd face of Ezra Miller will appear.
We didn't even talk about the gray aspect of it, or the ratio aspect.
Oh yeah,
it's shot or it's presented in 4:3.
Yeah, full screen. Yeah.
Academy ratio, which if you don't know what that looks like, if you saw The Lighthouse last year or 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Oh my god, 2 years ago. If you saw The Lighthouse, that was also 4:3 ratio.
Yeah,
but not full screen, right?
Not full screen, no. But yeah, definitely for Snyder cut. That's what it was.
Yeah, and visually it was fantastic. You know, there are a lot of scenes that are just artsy for art's sake.
Yeah.
But they're awesome.
Yeah. You can understand that, like, some people, when they make their movie black and white, they do it for an artsy aesthetic, but they don't carefully go scene to scene, or even, like, cut to cut and change the like the color correction in order to make it look like it's all connected and looks good. Sometimes it just comes off really washed out and gross. But this movie did a really good job of really making it, I don't know, it's just effective. A lot of like the shadows popped at certain moments, like, you know, you might see Cyborg like kind of hidden in the shadows like a bit more than he was in the original movie, and you can't really see his human face, but you can see his cyborg face a lot clearer. Stuff like that, just it looks so good, and I was shocked. I really thought it was going to be gimmicky, but it doesn't come off that way at all.
No, not at all. And it kind of it adds like just kind of the whole look of the film, especially in the Justice is Gray version. What is the name of the artist? There's a comic book artist who portrays the Justice League in a very photorealistic way. Yeah, Alex Ross. It reminds me a lot of that. Yeah. And I remember picking up those books when I was younger because I thought they just looked awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, and you get a lot of shots like that, especially with Aquaman. He has two moments in this movie that are just awesome. Yeah. Like just two shots that are just so freaking cool.
Man, that Jason Momoa is pretty.
He is a good.
He is a good looking man. Like everybody in this movie looks pretty good.
I'll look into the camera for that one. He's a good looking dude. He has my appearance endorsement. I don't even know. He's on my Hotto meter.
Sponsor us if you want an appearance endorsement. Like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, this dude looks all right. Oh my god. But yeah, no, like visually it comes off really appealing. Like I really love the look of the Gray version.
So do you have any final thoughts?
I just want to quickly cover the whole Cyborg thing. I love this movie simply for the fact that they gave him a story. Yes. Like they cut out, I would argue, 80% of his story, and it's ridiculous. He really comes off as a side piece, and in this version he comes off as part of a team. He does feel like the heart of the movie. And you understand, like, he really has, like, an entire character arc. I think he has a bigger character arc than anybody else in this movie.
Agreed.
And the fact that they just said, leave him on the cutting room floor, it feels gross. They really cut out a lot of the black people in this movie. Like, Iris, Cyborg's dad, his mom, Cyborg. Why?
Did you just answer your own question?
Yeah, a little bit.
It sounds like you just answered your own question.
It feels disgusting to me, but I appreciate this version simply for giving Ray Fisher the shine that he deserves. He's fantastic in this movie.
It's funny that you say 80% because I heard that's what they took out. I don't remember where I read that, but like I think like numerically speaking, it was roughly 80% of the Snyder cut that they took out.
That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And then or no, that wasn't. They kept 20% of the Snyder cut in Josh Whedon's, which I guess is the same math.
It's about the same, yeah.
But I guess it's easier when you say 20% was in the movie than 80% was taken out because we don't know what was added. That's a conversation for another day. So I'll ask again. Final thoughts, Eric.
Final thoughts. For a movie that I really did not think would come out, for a movie that I didn't think would really be that good, Zack Snyder has proven me wrong 100%. Him and Chris Terrio. I'm very happy that every single person who attached to this movie really got to get their shine. I'm excited for the future of the DCEU if they continue on his path. We'll see how it goes, but I think this is kind of like a marvel to, no pun intended, but it's kind of a marvel to witness to see this movie. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I really dig this movie a lot.
Yeah, and Zack Snyder has expressed that like he wants to move on, and you can't really blame him. This has probably been like a sore on his back for a very long time.
Yeah,
and you know, if his future visions were as expansive as this, that's a lot of work. You might want to move on. At least give it a little break.
Yeah.
We'll see. Who knows? But if it doesn't, I think if he doesn't move forward with it, then we'll have like this one little movie that's going to kind of feel like maybe like it will get like a little bit of like cult recognition. I guess.
Yeah, maybe. It kind of has.
It had a cult at its cultivation.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look
at that. But, so my final thoughts. At this moment, and I don't think this is hyperbolic. The Snyder Cut may be one of the biggest cinematic surprises of our lifetimes. And again, like that's not an exaggeration. To me, this is the cinematic equivalent of being an atheist and finding out that Jesus Christ has come back to life. You know, it doesn't just open the door to a new perspective. It really slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
You know, with that said, like we were talking about, it's far from a perfect film. Zack Snyder's various iteratives are draining, and I still find him to be a bothersome, if not annoying filmmaker. You know, why does his best film in years have to be 4 hours? Because, in my opinion, he doesn't know how to tell it any other way.
It's true.
But the drastic, and I do mean drastic changes to characterization, tone, and appearance combined to finally make the DCEU movie I think everybody has been waiting for. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which, if you had asked me years ago, way more than I ever would have thought.
Yeah. What would you have rated the last one? Like before Snyder Cut came out?
Probably a 3.
Probably a 3, yeah.
But which
like,
kind of makes the jump seem silly.
Yeah.
Or not very big. Like, I want to emphasize the fact, thank you for asking me that, because I strangely did like the Joss Whedon version, but I also haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
This is a substantially better movie.
Yeah.
Like, do not get me wrong.
It makes you reconsider some things. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe this thing wasn't that cool.
To be honest, if I'm going to be spending time watching a Justice League movie, it is not going to be Joss Whedon's version. So we're going to say 3 stars for the original, but it's probably less than
probably
that.
less than that. Yeah. It would take a revisit, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, we definitely do not want to do that.
All right. So yeah, catch it now on HBO Max. It will probably be on there forever.